Welcome to another episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back. And of course, we're talking all things pertaining to the San Francisco 49ers, quarterback position. And I really kind of want to dive into the skewed up draft process, right? The screwed up draft process, 2021. All right. And I think after this, we'll be able to just kind of put it behind us, move on, and talk about things that are more important where the 49ers are heading into the 2023 NFL season. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody's excited to talk some 49er football. Appreciate everybody that's in the chat right now. Make sure you
like and subscribe this video.
Yeah. All right. I see the chat jumping right now. Before the chat really starts going, because we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of all of this. All right. No pun intended. Shout out to my guys from the Nitty Gritty podcast. But right there, Underdog Fantasy. This show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. So make sure you guys download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com. And when you do, make sure you use the promo code Crocky because they will double your deposit up to $100. All right. So if you put in $50, they'll give you another $50. And now you got $100 to play with. If you put in $100, they'll give you $100 as well. Now you got $200 to play with. If you put in $300, they still only give you $100. All right. So again, if you guys want in on that action right there, download the app Underdog Fantasy or go to underdogfantasy.com and use promo code Crocky right now. And we got all kind of drafts going on in there. We got player props, over-unders, all that stuff, man. It's popping. We out here trying to get money. Let's get it. All right. I know why y'all here. Let's talk about it. The 49ers screwed up the draft process in 2021. I listened to Kyle Shanahan and some of the things that he said. All right, we're going to touch all bases with it, not just the draft process in 2021, or is it 2020? 2021, yeah, 21, 22, yeah, 2021. We're going to talk about the draft process with that, the handling, which I think has been very poor of Trey Lance. Just a situation, very unique way of handling it. And this is a very unique situation, right? Like, how often do you have a number 3 overall pick, he gets hurt, and then Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, play as well as Brock Purdy has. All right. And then you're going to get a former number 3 overall pick. And then it's like, it just kind of fits, right? So, like, there are a lot of different things, but guess what? We're going to dive into all of that today. All right. And I have my thoughts, but again, we want to get it out today, and then we just want to move on. And then we want to move on and talk about things that are more relevant, right? Like Nick Bosa, like where the hell is Nick Bosa at, right? Like things that are more relevant to where the 49ers are. So here we go. Got my notes right here. Let's first start with the process of the 49ers trading up to number 3 overall to draft a quarterback. If you kind of go back, guys, remember that previous season, 2020, Jimmy Garoppolo had the high ankle sprain. It got a little weird. He ended up coming back, and he got hurt again. And then they felt like he potentially could come back, but he elected to not to come back. And you start to hear some grumbles about how they didn't quite like the way that Jimmy Garoppolo was handling that situation, right? Like, is he being selfish? Is it all about him or whatever? But they felt a way about that. You heard that. And still didn't think much of it. I remember heading into that draft, the 49ers are picking 12th overall. And I think we all knew that this was a really good team and that they were kind of fortunate to be picking that high, and they probably wouldn't be picking that high again in the near future. All right, because it is a good roster, and the only way they pick that high is if there's more injuries to the quarterback position and everybody else. Everybody was kind of hurt that year as well. Okay. But I was looking at cornerbacks. Okay, is J.C. Horn going to be there? Patrick Surtain? What about Jalen Waddle? Like what receivers might be able to help? Do they go offensive line? You had Slater, who ended up going to the Chargers. He played extraordinarily well. Like, right, there were a lot of moving. Micah Parsons. There were a lot of like legit guys that potentially could be there at 12 with the 49ers move up for somebody. So that's where we were at first. And then they traded the house to move up to number 3. And when you heard that, it was like, whoa, like that's a shock. Right? Like, you're moving all the way up. You're gonna draft a quarterback. That is a lot to give up. It's a lot, regardless of how you feel. It's a lot, especially when you have the 3rd pick in the draft. Now, by all reports, it felt like we knew going number 1 was Trevor Lawrence. That was a non-negotiable. That was 100% facts. Number 2, it felt like it was Zach Wilson. So number 3, the 49ers, they kind of had an idea of, hey, we'll have a pick from these guys. But here's the thing where they started off really effing weird. They traded up to number 3, not knowing which guy they were going to take. That's the first strike in the process of them drafting a quarterback. That was strike 1. We're trading up to number 3. We have an idea of a few guys that we like, but we don't know exactly who we want. Now, you listen to them talk. They did a press conference, and then the press conference, I walked away even more confused, right? But even then, everybody's still excited because you are, okay, we're going to draft a quarterback, future of the team. It was kind of hot, right? Like people were divided on who the 49ers should get. But when you listen to Kyle Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talk about it, they were like, yeah, we like these guys, but actually, we wanted to get Matthew Stafford. All right, we tried to get Matthew Stafford, and man, we just got beat to the punch by the LA Rams. And Tavares, I see the super chat, appreciate it. I will get to that after I kind of run through all this. All right, but they were like, we wanted Matthew Stafford, weren't able to get him, so then we had to pivot. All right, then we looked into Deshaun Watson, and remember, that was the offseason. All the weird stuff started happening, right? So, like, man, we looked into Deshaun Watson, but, man, we didn't get it. And then, we want a quarterback that can run like Lamar Jackson and throw like Drew Brees, right? And they're saying all these different things, but we don't know exactly who we're going to get, and, we're going to come together on this. And John Lynch is like, hey, this is Kyle Shanahan's offense. This is his baby. I'd be a fool to tell him what quarterback to pick. But even then, after all that, they go through this process of, okay, we like this guy, we like whatever. Okay, I think we know who we're going to draft. The day before the draft, you decide, hey, let's call the Green Bay Packers and ask them about Aaron Rodgers. From that moment right there, that's first of all, that's strike 2. That's strike 2. From that moment there, that lets you know whoever they were picking, whatever quarterback they were going to take at 3. It could have been Justin Fields. It could have been Trey Lance, which it was. It could have been Mac Jones. They were not all in on the process of developing that quarterback. That should have been the red flag for me. Whereas, like, damn, the day before, and really the day of, because that's when the reports came out, they were calling about Aaron Rodgers. And I understand it. It's Aaron Rodgers. I get it. But all that lets me know is they were not all in on what it took to develop this guy, whoever it was. All right. So quick story real quick. Everybody knows I just moved back to Stockton. And, I had a gym out there in Arkansas. Got a house, got a gym. And my podcasting stuff, man, it just exploded. Right. And I'm doing very well podcasting. I'm making money, doing all this. And then the gym gets built. Well, the gym was actually my first thought. The podcast stuff was secondary. The gym gets built. I'm making so much money podcasting. I'm like, damn, okay, I got to build this gym now. So now I have to try to go all in on my gym when I make so much money podcasting. Eventually, fast forward, a year and a half or whatever, I sold my gym. I was never all in on my gym. Because in the back of my mind every day is I make so much money podcasting. Like, what am I doing? So I never did all the things that's necessary to building this gym. I never did everything that was necessary to build it. All the things, the appearances I'm supposed to do, going to certain games, handing out my business card. I never did all those things because I always had one foot in, one foot out. And the 49ers, from the moment that they called about Aaron Rodgers and looked at other things, they always had one foot in, one foot out on whoever they were going to draft, on whoever that was. Now, I got a bigger bone to pick with them because now I'm like, what the hell were y'all thinking? Thank you, Kyle Shanahan, for speaking yesterday. You kind of put some things into perspective, and you're going to have me have a good show. Okay, so they draft Trey Lance. Everybody's excited. Yay, draft Trey Lance. Some people upset. Oh, they're supposed to draft Mac Jones. Whatever. You got your quarterback. Now it's time to go all in and develop this guy and give him what he needs to become the best version of himself that he can be. And the best version of him that he could be for your organization. But here's the should have been the last strike. All right, but they still had several opportunities for it. Kyle said no matter what quarterback they picked, the plan was to play Jimmy Garoppolo that whole year. And that's very understandable, right? That is understandable. Jimmy Garoppolo is a good starting NFL quarterback. You saw the 1 year that he did play the whole year, you went to the Super Bowl. And really, you were a throw away from winning, right? Like just that missed overthrown pass to Emmanuel Sanders. Like you were that throw away from actually winning it all, right? So you're close. You know, like, man, I'm close. And then Kyle goes on yesterday to say the plan was never to play anybody that year, but we wanted to get cheaper at the quarterback position. Like that was their main goal. Their main goal was we want to get cheaper at the quarterback position so that we can keep this talented roster around, which makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Of course, you want to you have a young quarterback, build up this great roster. Cool. But with you saying that, clearly you're letting us know that ultimately the main goal for our team win a Super Bowl. And everybody says that. But teams that are developing quarterbacks, that's not their main thing is bring this quarterback along, develop him, and that's going to put us in a better position to win a Super Bowl. So when you draft Trey Lance, you're drafting him with the expectations of we're going to ride out this year with Jimmy Garoppolo, and then the next year we're not going to miss a beat because we're going to insert Trey Lance, and all of a sudden he's going to catapult us to the Super Bowl. How? When you draft a guy with the least amount of experience. Everything that goes into playing the quarterback position, he had the least amount of it. Now, when you drafted him, I was on board because I thought it was a normal development process for a quarterback that needs to play. That's what I was thinking. You play them, you go through your ups and downs, you go through your lumps, obviously like you want to win, like cool, but whatever, we'll sacrifice some wins for the development of this young quarterback. That's what I thought. Trevor Lawrence, losing season rookie year with Jacksonville, that he throws 10 touchdowns to 16 interceptions, not great. Justin Fields, sub 60% passer, not great. Zach Wilson, not great. Like, no matter how you spin it, like, not great. Like, so like there are the ups and downs regardless, right? And Trey Lance, out of all the guys, had the least amount of experience and needed the most nurturing, and he needed the most of just experiencing the ups and downs. He didn't lose a game at North Dakota State. He didn't throw an interception. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't go through shit. He's just talented. Like, okay. But there's a lot more that goes into playing the NFL quarterback position, and you got to go through ups and downs. So you tried to skip over what somebody's going to need to become the best version of them. And then the moment you say, you know what, nope, this is not for us, we're just going to do away with them. When I say this is a screwed up, flawed process, that's why. I am not one to say that you should not get rid of Trey Lance because oh man, you got Brock Purdy, he did what he did, but don't get rid of Trey Lance. Give him. Brock Purdy played very well. And if Brock Purdy is everything that you want, cool. You can move on. Like, that's fine. Brock Purdy is starting quarterback, cool. That's fine. Like, that's cool. I'm good with that. Like, Brock Purdy, he played very well. But the process of developing a young quarterback, if those were your intentions and your plans, you were wrong from the beginning. Like, with how you thought you're going to do it, you always had one foot in the door, one foot out. I just saw a Tim Kawakami report saying that as like last year, they talked about potentially moving on from Trey Lance. He had played 2 games. I heard Nick Wright made the most sense. Like, what the hell is going on? Now, again, right now, I'm talking about everything from the perspective of Trey Lance. We will get to the other guys. We'll get to Brock Purdy. We'll get to Kyle Shanahan. We'll get to Sam Darnold. We'll get to all that. But for Trey Lance, a guy that you spent so much capital on, I have never, ever seen a mishandling of a quarterback in this situation to develop a guy like this before. Never. I have never, ever seen anything like this. Again, I understand why things have played out the way they have. Oh, he hurt his finger. oh, he broke his ankle. I understand. But even within that, I have never seen this. I have never seen a team essentially give up on a prospect after he has started 4 games and only finished 3 of them. And it's just like, we're moving on. Now, that is a very tough situation or decision. And kudos to the 49ers for saying, you know what, this isn't working for us, so we're just going to move on. I'm actually good with that. Like, again, there's different angles here that I'm upset with. I don't mind that they came to the conclusion that Brock Purdy is their guy. I do not mind that at all. That's cool. It's the handling of developing a young guy and the process of that and what you gave up for it. If you're telling us that you wanted a young quarterback because you wanted to get cheaper, why the fuck would you trade up then? Because now you got 2 years to get cheaper at the quarterback position. What do I mean by that? You know, they said it. We are keeping Jimmy Garoppolo this year, no matter who the quarterback was, and he was always going to be tough to beat out, which I agree. I don't think Justin Fields would have stepped in and just, oh man, I'm just day one. I'm just going to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo in this offense with what Kyle Shanahan wants. I don't think so. All right. Mac Jones, it might be a little bit closer. All right. But Zach Wilson, clearly we see like, no. All right. So they weren't going to be better. So I understand, okay, we want to keep this guy or whatever. That's what you want to do. But if you are keeping him and then you're going to thrust a young guy into a situation where now it's Super Bowl or bust, you probably should have drafted Mac Jones. If that's the way you were thinking about it. If that's the way that your mind was working with that, then draft Mac Jones. I would have told him that. We watch some of these other teams have to go through some growing pains with their young quarterbacks. We watch what's going on with Chicago. Justin Fields, he's had his ups and downs. I think he's still trying to develop as a passer in the NFL. It's taking some time. He's played a lot of games. He started a lot of games. He's still trying to figure out that, like, passing in the NFL. I think he was the most talented quarterback in that class. But still, learning how to be a passer in the NFL. Still learning that. And look how many games he has played. And really, he has to use his legs to get by. All these guys would have had a tough time, like right away, and a tough time living up to the expectations of what the 49ers were. And they drafted the guy with the least amount of experience to do that. That is a wild, wild process. So now, Trey Lance is being used as a scapegoat in this situation where I don't think it's his fault for any of this. Whose fault it is the team that decided that we want to get cheaper at the quarterback position. So we're going to trade up. You don't have to do that. What do? We stay pat. We stay pat at 12, right? We identify the quarterbacks that we like. But we know that at least this year we're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. So we don't have to be in a rush to trade up for any of these guys. Matter of fact, we can sit pat. We can see who falls to us at 12. If, let's say, all the quarterbacks are gone. The quarterbacks that you wanted, they're both gone. Okay, well, let's just draft Micah Parsons. Let's just draft Rashawn Slater. Let's just draft one of those guys. You know why? Because, hey, maybe in another round, we can find a quarterback, 3rd round, 4th round, draft a guy, see if we like him, see if he potentially can be the guy. Oh, man, maybe he's not. Okay, well, the next year. Now you got the next year. Is there a quarterback that we want to try to trade up for? Is there a guy that we like? Hey, maybe we'll find Brock Purdy in the 7th round. I don't know. But I do know this. You did not have to make a panic move to trade up for a guy when you had no intentions on playing him that year. And then the next year, the expectations are 100% Super Bowl or bust. That is tough. So now it's even wilder that they traded up 3 first-round picks, not just for Trey, but for any quarterback. Because you want to get cheaper at the quarterback position. This is luckily they're good coaches. They are really good coaches. But that process is wild, and it made sense in the sense of like, okay, you want to go all in for a quarterback, but they were never all in. How the hell do you trade up and use 3 first-round picks on one guy, but you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Like I talked about it with my business. I was never gonna run my gym the way I needed to because I had one foot in, one foot out. I had one foot in on podcasting being what really supports me and my family financially, and I do very well in it financially. And I had one foot in trying to figure out how I can build a gym around that, and it's impossible. And that's essentially what they did. We want our cake and we want to eat it too. And when anything that you're trying to develop from the bottom, you just can't do that. And I think anybody that is listening to this podcast right now, we got 400 people in here. Hit the like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. But anybody that's in here, y'all probably can attest to this, that anything that you've ever done where you got one foot in, one foot out, you probably don't get the best results. Think about all the things that you've done in life that you were all in on, and you probably got closer to whatever it was that you were trying to achieve. Their process was bullshit on what they were doing. That is wild. And I feel for Trey because he gets caught up in the middle of an organization that made a decision and wasn't really all in on that decision. That's wild. So it's unfortunate. I've never seen a guy who, I listen, you guys could correct me if I was wrong. I listened to the radio this morning. They said Trey Lance has attempted 101 throws in the NFL. 101 throws. You attempt 101 throws and you're getting thrown away. That is wild. That is wild. Now, as far as Freaky says here, Trey is doing fine financially, but he got screwed. Hey, he is doing very well financially. Financially, he's fine. But one thing about competitors, it's not all about the money. So yeah, financially he's cool. It's not poor Trey Lance. Financially he's cool. But these guys, the money comes with playing football. That's great. But everybody wants that opportunity. And his opportunity was a little jaded, a little wild. We're going to get to the other parts of this, right? Kyle Shanahan, Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, all those things. Appreciate everybody that's tuning in right now. Let's get to some of these super chats, and then we'll continue on this talk. All right, here we go. We got Lynch on KBR. He just said that he did not expect the QB2 news to leak. Would not answer the question if Lance asked for a trade. I heard that, and well, first, yeah, he said, wasn't expecting the news to leak. We thought that would be something that stays in the house. You think that nobody's going to know that Trey Lance is QB3? First of all, it has been getting reported for months that this is a rigged competition. And that's the other BS part of it. You had Trey Lance. He was on the Rich Eisen show. And he's like, hey, I don't expect anything to be given to me because it won't be. I understand how well Brock Purdy played last year. He was terrific. Just give me an opportunity to compete against him. He never had an opportunity to compete against him. And then John Lynch went on to say, during this, John Lynch went on to say that during his time this summer with Trey Lance competing, they didn't do anything that played into exactly what Trey Lance's strengths are. Everything they did was just from the general idea of we run an offense and this is what we're going to do, not what works best for Lance or the things to get the most out of him. It's like I'm fighting with one hand behind my back. So you sign Sam Darnold, you bring him in, do his thing, whatever. You won't let me compete for the starting job. So I'm playing with all these backups and guys like that. So, that part's not an even playing field from an efficiency standpoint from the rest of the offense. And then you're telling me that you won't even allow me to do some of the things that y'all not going to do anything that like Trey Lance does these things well. And it probably is difficult, but this is wild. This is wild. This is wild. That's wild. All right. But yeah, they weren't expecting the QB news to leak. And then he also said that he kind of brushed over the did Trey Lance camp? That's what it was. It says question if Lance asked for a trade. Yeah. They asked if Trey Lance's camp or Trey Lance asked for a trade, and he kind of glossed over that and was like, we're kind of doing everything in-house and, whatever, we're going to move on. So he kind of just glossed over that. But yeah, good stuff, Terrarius. All right, here we go. You sold your gym, you moved to Stockton. What happened? Yeah, man. So I sold my gym, moved to Stockton. And again, I kind of touched on it. Maybe I'll circle back to this at the end of the show. All right, I'll circle back to that because there's a lot of moving pieces. But right now, y'all want me to talk about the 49ers. We will talk about that. So stay tuned, Josue. And when we close this out, I'll definitely come to that. Used 4 picks, 3 first and 1/3 to draft Trey Lance. Use all that. So again, when we talk about the flawed, screwed up 49ers draft process, you used all that to draft someone that you were 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's trash. That is trash. You look at all these guys that, man, you see them start to take off in their year 3. You know what I'm saying? They done played, they had their lumps, right? You've heard Trey Lance be, at least his situation kind of compared to some of these other guys, and you look at the, and really you can look at all quarterbacks, but let's say Josh Allen. Why did Josh Allen, take off in year 3? Not because he had a ton of reps at Wyoming. That's not why. Josh Allen took off in year 3 because what he was seeing finally started to slow down. Everything that happened with him was in progressions. All right. Year 1, he tried to be something that he really wasn't. Now, listen, this isn't just me talking. This is Greg Pinelli, my guy, Greg Pinelli. Y'all know Greg. Greg is tight with Josh Allen. They're buddies. Greg has trained Josh Allen for years. Greg was a part of Josh Allen's process trying to get him to colleges. They kept turning him down. All right. They're buddies now. Greg is Josh's caddy. All right. So this is they play Call of Duty every Friday night. All right. Like they're dogs. They're tight. And Greg, awesome trainer as well. We'll have him on the show. We got something in the works. All right. But with Josh Allen, year 1, he tried to be something he wasn't. Year 2, he started to play a little bit more free. And he started to understand exactly what Brian Daboll wanted him to do. Year 3, he started understanding more of what he was seeing from the defense and being able to mirror that with what Daboll wanted him to do with what he was seeing from the defense. And you saw a jump in how he played. It took 3 years, right? The 40, that's a lot of game. That's a lot of experience. And that was what it took, for Josh to turn into that, right? It took some time. Imagine if after 4 games of Josh Allen and then maybe he got hurt, which he did. It's like, you know what? This other guy played well. We just going to give up on him. You know what I'm saying? You never saw the Josh Allen that you saw today. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, started so many games as a rookie, ended up taking over for Carson Wentz. Hurts, in that last game, his rookie year, got benched for Nate Sudfeld. He got benched. And some people think that he got benched because what they say? Oh, they're trying to throw the season. They were tanking. No, they benched him because he was playing terrible. He was playing terrible. So then the next year, they bring in a new coaching staff. And the new coaching staff goes all in on whatever he needs and to build around him, even after what it looked like at the end of that last year. And then he does well. And then the next year, they're like, we're going to stick with it. Then you see the MVP candidate him. And I think he's still growing. I think there's still areas in his game. I don't think he's the best passer in the NFL, but he's still working on those things. But it's like, you know what? We're going to surround him with guys. We're going to throw this at him. And man, now we got to pay him. I say all that to say, when you do what this right here, you do that, you got to go all in on what this guy needs. And they ain't do it. They didn't do it. And it failed Lance. It failed Lance. Now they failed the team because you got Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy's lighting it up. You know what I'm saying? You got Brock. You're good. But just in the sense of the process of the draft and trading up all those picks and what it took I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And I'm understanding it less and less. I'm understanding it less and less. All right, let's talk about Sam Darnold. And again, hopefully we get through all this stuff and then we just kind of get to move on and talk about things that are more important as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers and this season coming up. Again, where is Nick Bosa? Deebo Samuel, he's looking slim. Brandon Ayuk, he's prime for a breakout year. Will Ronnie Bell make it? Let's talk about some more important things. Hey, man, Brock Purdy, what are his MVP odds, right? But today we're going to get this all out, then we'll move on. Hopefully. Sam Darnold. There are a lot of people. The one thing I'm noticing, and with the pushback, first of all, y'all know I do a show daily Locked On 49ers, myself, Brian Peacock, come at you 5 days a week. Hit, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Well, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere you are. All right. Actually, it's the number one 49ers podcast in the world. The number one. According to the numbers, Apple and all that, there is not a more listened to 49ers podcast in the world. So subtle flex real quick, or not so subtle. All right, subtle. But we talked about this, and I'm looking at the comments, and you know that there are 49er fans that said, I will not listen to your show anymore because you guys are pushing an agenda, a Sam Darnold agenda. I'm not going to listen. Oh, you guys think Sam Darnold is good. I'm not listening to this anymore. What? What do you want? Do y'all want people that's going to like keep it a buck, or do you want me to like pick a side? And if you want me to pick a side for what? I thought the whole thing with podcasting and content creating and stuff like that is to give an opinion. But why people listen to, hopefully why they listen to this show or Locked On, is to hear like what exactly are we seeing? And maybe I can give you a different perspective than what you would get from your buddies, from your friends. That's what I thought, right? Because I come on here and talk as if I am your friend. That's what I try to do. I want to come on here and talk as if I'm the homie and we're just having a conversation. I bring y'all on. My point isn't more important than yours, but let's just hear a different perspective. That's what this is for. So Sam Darnold, I understand that he was not good in NFL. I understand that there are 55 games and 90 turnovers in those games that say this guy maybe stinks at the quarterback position. I understand that. And if you want to continue to hold that against him, or if you going into this process want to hold that part of him against him, I understand. But at the end of the day, with anything, all I can go off of, and I'm assuming all Kyle can go off of, is what have you done for me? What do you do for me? I'm bringing you into this situation. I feel like maybe I can help. Maybe you can help me help you, and I can help you help me, whatever. But I'm bringing you into this situation to maybe do better than what you were in the past. And then when you come into this situation, which that part too, a little skewed in the sense of a competition for Trey Lance, but you come into the situation and then you do the things that I'm expecting you to do, and it looks how I expect it to look, right? And you're doing certain things, and I'll talk about some of the things. People got mad because I said, hey, I think Sam Darnold has looked good. Now, I'm not talking about him scoring a whole bunch of points in the preseason game because he hasn't, all right? But just in the sense of me trying to look at it through the eyes of Kyle Shanahan and how he sees the field, how he sees his offense, and what he wants his quarterbacks to look like, I think Kyle likes Sam Darnold more than Trey Lance. Well, guess what? I was fucking right. But it was clear. Like, you could see it. You don't have the drastic ups and downs. This is not me saying that Trey Lance would not be better if he had the same 55 games under his belt. You probably see a drastically better version of Trey Lance. Unfortunately, because of how this whole thing is played out, he just doesn't have those reps and clearly needs it. But Sam does. So he comes into this offense, and a lot of things that he was doing look very fluid. Now, he can't control certain things. You know, you're playing against a bad offense. Same for Trey. Bad offensive line. You don't have all your number one weapons, whatever. Man, I had 2 dropped balls that hit Ronnie Bell in the hands. He dropped in and get picked off. Like, I can't control that. But Kyle's not looking at that. All he cares about is, what does it look like with this guy running my offense? And what are the abilities of it? And you see the throw. You see the far hash throws to the sideline, complete timing, rhythm. You see the accuracy. It was there. You see him beating blitz, throwing the ball. It was there. And I'm not saying you didn't see none of those things from Trey Lance. But I think you saw those things with Trey Lance, but you saw a lot more lower moments. Like, that was ugly. That was ugly. That was ugly. Okay, well, there we go. He's heating up. He's getting strong. Well, Kyle doesn't want the fucking ugly. All right? Kyle doesn't want the ugly. Kyle wants, what can you do and what does it look like? And the more I watch Sam Darnold, I watched him in practice. Now, I ain't go to every practice, so I know there was a practice. He went 1 for 7, whatever. Sorry, I wasn't there. So maybe my thoughts on him are skewed. But my brother came on here. He's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, right? Diehard Steelers fan. He went to several practices with me, and we watched the 49ers. And you know what his takeaway was? Some of y'all were in here. Do y'all remember what my bro's takeaway was? Y'all know what I'm talking about, tattoos all on his face and everything. We love football. We talk football. We live, breathe football. That's all we do. We're flying to LA, But tomorrow to go watch our guys from San Jose State play against USC. The following week we're flying to go watch our guy Jonah play against Northern Alabama. Northern Arizona. The following week we're flying to Pittsburgh to go watch the San Francisco 49ers against his Steelers. We love football. That's all we do. And he's watching it, and he said, "You know what, man? I didn't have any expectations of Sam Darnold, but whatever thoughts I had of him, he exceeded them." That's my brother. He has nothing to do with the 49ers. It has nothing to do with pushing any weak-ass agenda. It has nothing to do with anything. He just walked away saying, like, man, I was impressed by Sam. I didn't know what to expect, but I liked the way it looked. I liked the way he looked running the offense. This is my bro. He has nothing to do with the 49ers. So again, if you want to hold the past against him, I understand. But that's not what this is. Kyle was looking at, what can you do for me? And then my bro went as far as to say this. Watching the quarterbacks, and he's watching the quarterbacks. Maybe I'll bring up the sound bites or whatever. All right. But he's watching the quarterbacks, and he's watching Sam Darnold, and he's watching Brock Purdy, and he's watching Trey Lance. And he said, again, this is him. If he had to rank the quarterbacks off of the practices, and he only saw 2 of the practices with all 3 of the quarterbacks, because we went to a couple of other ones. He was with me with a couple of other ones, but Brock didn't practice in those 2. All right. But if he had to rank the quarterbacks based off of what he saw, he would say Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy. And that's just his opinion, right? Like, that's just his opinion based off, I'm watching practice, what it looks like, the offense, whatever. Very few. So take that small sample size for what it is. But that's what my bro Donald was saying, right? So when we talk about Sam Darnold right now and how, again, maybe Kyle, same thing. Hey, man, I have high expectations, but, man, maybe he exceeded them. And I say with whatever he did, this is unbiased. I'm not being biased here. All right? I'm not being biased. And I don't know how he's going to play in the game. Maybe he gets into a regular season game for whatever reason, and he is trash. And he looks like the 55 game, 90 interception guy. But so far from what we've seen with the 49ers, he has not been bad. He has not been bad. So, it's tough, and I get it. People want to hold like Sam Darnold's pass against them, or everybody has like this emotional connection to a lot of these players, but all we can go off of is what we've seen. And it's tough. It's tough. It's tough on Trey Lance, and it's a tough situation for everybody else. But I would say that regardless of these things, the way that they have played out, I think we can all say that 49ers are in a good spot, and they have like the second best odds to win or go to the Super Bowl, which is wild, regardless. So there are things that have gone on that are unfortunate for specific people, but the 49ers are this train that keeps on chugging along, and they're going to be fine. So I'm hoping that we put a lot of these debates behind us. I'm hoping that we never have to talk a whole lot about a second or third string quarterback. I'm hoping that we don't have to come on here and trash their process in drafting Trey Lance, even though it was bad, it was terrible, and it was not what was best for Trey Lance. And I hope that we can acknowledge that, while also understand that regardless, this is still a damn good team. And if Brock Purdy plays like how he played last year, then they will be fine. They will be fine. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button.
Like and subscribe this
Real quick.
video.
Hey, host, wait. We still going to get to this in a little bit. All right. But let's get to some of these other ones. We got Quana. Are we sure they're good with Purdy? They are good with Purdy. I would say that I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. But at the end of the day, if he's not good, let's say he's not good, Kirk Cousins is probably going to be a quarterback next year. so hey, just know that. Just know that. Oh, man, just know that. If he ain't good, if they ain't good with him, if he ain't good, Kirk Cousins is going to be a quarterback next year anyway. So Get comfortable with the thought of that. All right, here we go. Next one, we got Gammon. What ticks you off more? A, people unsubbing and hating on you for honest opinions. B, being taken out of context. Definitely B, getting taken out of context. I hate that. It's like, bro, did you not hear what I just said? Being taken out of context, because I feel like people are being lazy with their like their listening skills, like the way they comprehend. So it's definitely being taken out of context. That is by far the worst. Especially when I feel like I spend enough goddamn time on here carefully kind of like watching the way I say things and making sure I try to cover all my bases, and they still take like one little thing. You said this. Oh, that is the worst. That's the worst. That's the worst. All right, here we go. We got Bad Spokane. Hey, I asked you yesterday, you in Spokane? Like, what, Spokane, Spokane, Washington? All right. How can we as a fan base accept Kyle? Okay. Accept. I think you used the wrong accept. All right. But but appreciate the contribution. Accept Kyle's evaluation of Sam being out. Trey, bipolar Kyle, love Jimmy. Wait, love Trey. Wait, love Brock. Wait, Sam is Steve Young. Shaking my head. You know what I'll say to that, man? I would say, and I feel you. I don't trust any of his evaluations. I, gosh, Khalil Young. I don't trust his evaluations, but I trust him as a coach. So I think Kyle Shanahan is a damn good football coach, and whatever decision he makes, I think he'll figure it out. So his quarterback decision making stuff, like I question that. I'll continue to question that. And the way he goes about things and the way he went about this process, trash. The way he didn't, I go, I'm not gonna look into uh Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson because I love Kirk Cousins. Like trash. But regardless, he's done a really good job winning a lot of football games. So uh he's a little weird with it. Can't knock him. Here's a good one. Let's put this up on the screen. All right. What? I got locked out of Twitter. Your account is now available for use. What the heck? Somebody tried to hey, I wish I'd have had that up. Somebody tried to say I got copyright or something. I ain't even copyright. So, look, people are so mad. Look at that. People are so mad that I said that, hey man, Sam Darnold, we'll see. I don't think they're holding his past against him. That they tried to do some copywriting stuff on my Twitter account. That's crazy. Y'all gotta stop being so emotional. All right. But I want to go to the bookmarks here. And my guy, Quincy Avery, said something here. All right. And as it pertains to, again, this goes to trading, or not trading, but, what this says right here, right? The fan base, accepting Kyle Shanahan's evaluation of players, quarterbacks, etc. All right, so let's go to this real quick. Share screen, bam, bam, and here we go. All right, so Quincy Avery says, I mean, if you really think about it, Kyle always makes decisions only thinking about that particular moment. Always seems obvious to how his current actions will affect the future. From his decision to run RG3 into the ground, the pass play in the Super Bowl, he's talking about with the Falcons, his handling the quarterbacks. He's just a short-sighted dude, great play caller and designer, all that, but he needs someone to save him from himself. So when you ask if I trust Kyle, I think that was great. Way I think Quincy Avery pointed that out, and that was damn good. That was damn good. All right, here we go. Next one. We got Cap Low ENT. Are you concerned with the pass chart Nick Wright showed where Brock Purdy is terrible throwing to his right? I did see that. And I would say that with any of this stuff, like, with Brock Purdy or, whoever else, right? Like, very small sample size. I've said that, like, there's a small sample size of Brock Purdy. The small sample size we have, really good. I have seen some quarterbacks come out really good and then doesn't look so good the next year. Or, then maybe it never gets better. But then, okay, it got better again. And then you see him continue to grow. So hopefully it's not just this, coincidence, right? Maybe it's just a coincidence that he didn't throw as well to the right, and maybe now he'll throw to the right and he'll be more accurate, or whatever. But I don't think nothing of it. I have always been more on the Aaron, more on the side of I would like to see more of Brock Purdy before I crown him like this, like amazing guy. I think he's shown he could play quarterback at the NFL level. Can he continue to play at the level that he played last year? I don't know. I don't know. All right, here we go. We got Jim. He says, with college history, QB3 will be starting. That's right. But you know what? Unfortunately, or fortunately for Trey Lance, I don't think it'd be Trey Lance because I think he's going to be out of here. I think he's going to be traded. How many teams have had this much drama and then proceed to win a bowl? That's a great question. Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know how many teams have just had the drama of the 49ers. Like I've never, and be good, and they will be good. I ain't never seen anything like it. So 49ers, I feel like there's a lot of drama as a content creator, and I say content creator, but locked on 49ers, in this show, of course. Uh, it gives me stuff to talk about with y'all, but a lot of drama. And crazy thing is, even with all this drama, they can still win the bowl. They really can. They really can. And I don't think the odds are nothing. Oh no, I got away. I accidentally clicked away the one about me moving. Maybe I can find it again. All right. I give John and Kyle credit for pivoting off of Trey. I do too. You know what? I do give them credit for pivoting off of Trey. What I don't give them credit for is having 1 foot in, 1 foot out the entire time with Trey. That's BS. That's trash. But as far as just saying, you know what? Trey is not for us, and what Trey needs is not for us. So let's move on from there. I give them kudos for that. The process in which they got to that point, trash. Trash. All right, man. Appreciate everybody that is here. Make sure y'all, if you are new here, because I think the analytics say that half of y'all have never tuned into the show or aren't subscribed. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Okay. Now we like to do a segment of bringing people on. All right. So if you are new to this, go ahead and click the link in the chat. There's going to be a lot of people that, you want to get your take off. And again, this is not so much about me. This is more so about, let's talk about this. Let's get this all out there. So here's the link right here. You guys feel free. Come on. Now, I'm only giving everybody 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes to get your point on. Then we're going to move on to the next caller. All right. 2 minutes. So we got to get to it, and then we're going to move on. All right. But appreciate everybody that's in here right now. Love y'all for real. Lynch just said on Bleacher, Trey is likely to stay in San Francisco. The reason why Trey is likely to stay in San Francisco is because oh my gosh. They might say, you know what, Trey Lance with us is more beneficial than receiving a 6th-round pick. But what they're like, again, this process the entire time, trash. And them saying, hey, man, he's most likely going to stay here. That continues to be the issue. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Do you want Trey or not? Do you want what's best for Trey or not? Move on. And they want to keep him because they might not like the compensation that they're getting. Which, why would somebody give you the value you think is worth for, a guy that you deem your 3rd-string quarterback? Why? Why would they say, you know what, let's go give him a 3rd-round pick for Trey Lance? Now, the only way Trey can boost his draft value, there is one way. There is one way, y'all. They give him the entire preseason game. Hey, man, Brock, you're our starting quarterback. We're good. Sam, you're our QB2. You're good. Trey Lance, we are going to give you the entire 3rd preseason game. And this is your audition for all other 31 teams. So you go out there and you ball, you put some good stuff on tape. We will be able to potentially get something good in return. And we can just say, we just think Sam Darnold is just that good. That's the only way they can get good compensation for him. If they do what they've been doing, okay, we're gonna play Brock, we're gonna play Sam, and then okay, Trey, you're gonna get some leftovers. You ain't getting nothing for him. You ain't getting nothing for him. So they want to get something for him. They need to let him play that entire preseason game. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and bring everybody on now. Again, you guys are gonna have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Everybody's gonna have 2 minutes to get your takeoff. Um, Fish and Chip says, "Say, Croc, nobody wants Trey. No, teams want him. So from reports, teams have been inquiring about Trey Lance. There were offers on the table. There was things in place with the Minnesota Vikings. The 49ers didn't like the compensation, so the talks fell apart. There are teams that they want him, just not at the price that the 49ers want to give him up for. So it's not true that nobody wants Trey. All right, here we go. Let's bring on. I need to put my headset on. Got the headset on the ground. I was getting a little worked in, getting a little hot in here. A little hot and heavy. All right, so here we go. First caller. You got let me get to this super chat before we get to that. If you are not going to play him, let him go. It creates too much of a distraction within the fan base. It also provides fodder for the national media. Yeah, but hey man, it's a business. So from the business standpoint, I understand. It's just tough. It's just tough. First caller coming on. We got Tia. Tia, how you doing this morning?
Pissed. I'm
Oh
like you. This how they treated him is ridiculous.
yeah.
First off, I didn't think they gave him a fair shot to compete anyway. Because like you said, he went on every radio show and said, I understand why Brock Purdy is the starter. I understand that the way that he played, I understand why he's the starter. As long as I get a chance to compete for the backup, I'm good.
No, no,
So
no. He didn't
whatever
want to compete for the backup. He
well,
wanted a
but
chance to compete against Brock. Like that's what
right,
he
but
asked for.
still I think he understood that it would probably be for the backup. I'm just gonna give him a benefit of the doubt. He probably thought, okay, yeah, Brock's the starter, but at least I'm gonna get a chance to compete, whether it was the first or the second or whatever. But whoever told him, whatever they told him, he believed he had a chance to compete.
Yeah.
When he was told yesterday, they got the real answer. What the fuck you mean I can't? I'm QB3. Kyle went on the radio and said they both look good. He didn't make his decision until the Raider game. So if we basing this off the Raider game, then there's a lot of players that should not be on this team. Why are we still sitting here talking about the kicker? But you said the game don't matter because he kicks it in the practice. So Kyle needs to make up his mind. Are we talking about practice or are we talking about the games? Because there are certain players that look like hot garbage in their Raiders game. But yet we're still talking about they're gonna make the team. They're gonna be on the roster because you paid them, and that's that. So why we don't have the same energy for those players that y'all do for Trey Lance? You giving them multiple opportunities to look bad. Kinlaw, I ain't heard nobody say, okay, we need to get rid of Kinlaw. No, he looks good. Kinlaw gonna be our backup.
I did see somebody in the chat said they should trade him straight up for they said somebody else. I didn't see exactly who it was, but they did say trade Kinlaw.
Right, but they're not.
No, they won't.
They won't. You want you. I don't understand. If you don't want him on your team, why are you asking for a lot for Trey?
All right, Tia, that's your time though. I appreciate you coming on. I gotta get to the next caller. All right, Tia jumped out of there super quick, didn't she? Appreciate the calling, Tia. Here we go. If you're gonna play him, let him go. We talked about that. Got another super chat right here from Christopher Williams. He says the failure with Lance shows Kyle can't use anyone at QB. Kyle and John might have looked into Brock being good. Um, I think that with quarterbacks in general, it probably is a little bit more luck than skill with finding that guy. But as far as Trey can't use anyone, or excuse me, Kyle can't use anyone at QB, I think it's more so of Kyle needs someone very specific at the moment at QB and doesn't truly have the patience to for the long play. That's what it feels like to me. And hey, you keep moving along and you're winning, then it doesn't matter. But that's just kind of what it feels like. And then we got Eric here, and this is not a super chat, but I did think it was kind of like, just kind of cool, something to touch on. He says, why? Why is Trey supposed to get the preferential treatment? It's not, it's like anything, right? Like anything. Typically, typically, when you invest a lot in something, you do different things to kind of see it through, right? Like it's not like, okay, first time I tried this, it didn't work out. Okay, I'm gonna move on. And when you've invested a lot in it, now, I got these ribs in the fridge right now. I'm gonna, lather them up, nice and good, put the sauces on there and stuff like that. Let's say I don't do very well with this batch. Well, the next batch, okay, let me see what I could do different. I'm gonna try it up. I'm not just gonna be like, well, I'm just never gonna cook these ribs again, even though they cost a lot. If I got three slabs in there, right, that I spent money on, and the first one doesn't go well. I didn't cook them very good. I'm just gonna throw the other ones out. Like, nah, I'm fine. I'm gonna figure these ones out too. I already spent my money on these. I'm gonna figure it out. And then after all three, if it's like, man, I done tried to cook all three of these ribs, I done butchered all of them, I might never cook ribs again. All right. But that makes more sense to go through all three before just saying, you know what, after this first one, this didn't work out. Never again. Now, if I only invested one, if I only bought one and it doesn't do well, okay, I'm not going to go buy some more and try it again. I don't have to. Hope that makes sense. My guy Abel says, take the ribs to J. Kale's house. Hey, Abel, man, what's up, man? Hey, when is Abel's son's birthday? I mean, Abel's son, Jeremiah's son's birthday party? Because his girl was telling me about that, and I didn't, but then I forgot. Is it like this weekend? I think it's this weekend, huh? All right. Anyway, shout out to my dog Abel. We've been tight since fourth grade, man. Y'all know about it. Same friends. You feel me? Fish and Chips here. He says Lil Shannon is running out of leash and needs it now. I don't think Shanahan is running out of. I think he got the longest leash. All right, here we go. Next caller up. All right, you got 2 minutes. Chuck D on the Clizock. Let's go, Chuck D.
All
How you
right.
doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm gonna say this again. We thought about this. Sports, especially when it comes to the quarterback position, is not a true meritocracy. Well, your biases seep in no matter how it just happens in the sport of football, especially the NFL, especially that position particularly. So I think what happened was, like you said, they were never fully invested in Trey,
1 foot in,
because
1 foot out.
one foot in, 1 foot out. Because what they should have did was, as soon as you draft the guy number 3, you cut Jimmy. You move on. The Minnesota Vikings did this a long time ago with Dante Culpepper. They got rid of their starting. They had a winning team. They were in the NFC Championship game a few years before, and they got Dante, and they built him up, and they would go right back into it. So this excuse about, oh, we have a Super Bowl window. I've seen the Vikings do the same shit. The Vikings did the same thing. They drafted a QB from a lower tier school. They built him up, and then he was able to have a couple good. I mean, as long as Dennis Green was here, he had great seasons here. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, I'm looking at RG3, now Trey Lance. I'm starting to see a pattern. So I just think that, you know, they never believed in him. And then, like you said, the whole draft process doesn't make sense. If you're not going to fully invest in your guy, why trade up to number 3?
Right. That
Why
doesn't
trade
make
up?
yeah.
You should have just stayed pat and be like, okay, we're going to draft the guy we want at 12, or if none of the quarterbacks are there, draft Micah Parsons and call it a day. So, yeah, I know it's my 2 minutes, but yo, I hope they trade him to Minnesota. Quit holding on to this dude. You're fucking his career up. Sorry for cussing.
Yeah.
Let him go. The Vikings are offering probably a 5th or a 6th round pick.
Let him go.
Let him go. And then here's the thing too: if he's gonna come on the Vikings salary cap, y'all gonna have to attach something to him. So we give you a 6. You trade us Trey Lance in the 5th and call it a day.
Yep.
So keep working, brother. Appreciate you getting that paper from these people.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Chuck D.
All right.
All right. Here we go. Got some stuff in the chat. Here we got oh, real quick, I want to touch on one thing that Chuck D said. He talked about Dante Culpepper and them essentially like saying, all right, we were a team that was really good. We went with this young guy. Let's go all in with him and then see where that goes. And obviously, we saw some good years out of Dante Culpepper. Another example of that, and I know we keep talking about Josh Allen, but people forget about this. The Josh, the Buffalo Bills were in the playoffs the year before, kind of led by Tyrod Taylor, like some combination of Tyrod Taylor and Nate Peterman or whatever his name was. Like he wasn't good. We know he was trash. But Tyrod Taylor, right? It's like, hey, we went to the playoffs. When they got Josh Allen, it's like, man, you know, whoever the starting quarterback was definitely somebody that they would replace easily. And then, all right, it's your team. It's your team. And whatever lumps we're gonna go through, cool, but we're gonna be better for it in the long run. And I'd say right now, Buffalo is definitely better with going through what they went through with Josh Allen. Could be just a one-off. It could be, but you know. All right. If anyone is getting preferential treatment, is Darnold. Dude got more lives than Mario. Thought I had to sneeze. Didn't sneeze. All right. Dude got more lives than Mario. What did he do to deserve getting picked up? Well, I would say, you know, coaches in general, you know, they see somebody with a skill set, and especially if you can give them on a cheap, I think that it's what's the risk, right? If you can go and get Sam Darnold for $2 million, I think it was guaranteed. Like, cool. What's the risk? Hey, man, like, you know, he had a rough go in New York. He had a rough go in Carolina. Hey, you know, hey, I still like his skill set. Maybe he could be a good backup for us. We can get him for the low. All right, cool. And I think that's why. They didn't pick him up to be a starter. We got Gold-Blooded here, and Gold-Blooded says, the point is Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch spent 3 first-round picks, each worth $20 million each. These goons just spent $80 million, 3 picks, and Trey's salary on 4 games just to throw it away. You said a lot there, Gold-Blooded. You said a lot there. You said a lot there, and I can't disagree. It's wild. That's what I'm saying. It's wild. I ain't never seen nothing like it. But maybe it's, well, we never seen anything like that because we never seen Mr. Irrelevant come in and do as well as Brock Purdy did. And maybe like we should just stop looking at it from TreyLance's perspective, excuse me, and we should look at it from, well, maybe Brock is just that good. And look at it that way. But that's right, man. 80 million and 4 games thrown away. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. All right, here we go. Next caller. You got 2 minutes. Coming up now, Mr. Blue Magic 23.
What's poppin', Croc? I already know the time is on, and you know I'm long-winded, so I'm gonna get right to it.
Yeah.
That Mario line, that was spot on and hilarious. But this whole narrative about, you know, the 4 games. Listen, the organization never had a plan, and that's what people should be upset at. Stop being upset at Brock. Stop being upset at Trey. Stop being upset at Sam. The process. There was never a plan. There was never a plan. You in win now mode, but you take a quarterback. I don't care if it was Trey. I don't care if it was Justin Fields. I don't care if it was Mac Jones. You're in a win now time frame, and you already said that I want Rodgers. I don't want Brady. You want everybody. So you didn't know what you was going to do, but once you realize, well, we're stuck with this trade up. We don't know who to pick. For what? For what? Why trade up in the first place? That's what I want. Those are the questions that need to be asked. Why did you trade up in the first place? Because they keep backtracking. 1 minute they want an elite quarterback. They want Sam Bradford. They want Aaron Rodgers, Brady. But then when they can't get them, they play on our intelligence and say, "Oh no, we wanted to get cheaper and younger in the quarterback room." No, you didn't. You didn't know what you was going to do. The problem is, like you said, Kyle doesn't have a leash. Kyle doesn't have a leash. No matter what he does, there's no repercussions. There's no one to say, yo, you got X amount of time to figure X amount out. the most penalized team in the league in the first 8 games, the most injured team in the league for the past, I think, 4 seasons. They playing with our intelligence, and it's time to stop getting mad at the players outside of the Cabo clique who he delegates everything to. The same way you couldn't make a statement saying that Trey was number 3. You got a team captain to say it? Come on. And we keep calling Kyle Shanahan a genius. This got to stop, man.
I hear you. I appreciate you coming on, Mr. Blue Magic.
I'm as frustrated as Tia.
I know. All right, I'm gonna get you out of here. All right. Yeah. Hey, Tia comes in. She a lot of times she comes in hot, but she's gives really thoughtful analysis on it. But I could tell like she was a little upset. Tia was upset this morning. One thing that Mr. Blue Magic did say that even with me laying this all out and talking about it, I didn't even catch. Kyle said they wanted to get cheaper at the quarterback position. But then they also wanted Matthew Stafford and Deshaun Watson and these other guys and Aaron Rodgers that definitely would not let you get cheaper at the quarterback position. That's an interesting one. Here we go. Next up, 2 minutes on the clock. We got CJ Greg. Good morning, man. How you doing?
What's going on, Croc? It's just been a rough couple of days here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I'm
listening. Okay.
There's only 2 minutes, so I try not to do too much talking with
okay. Yeah, Mr. Blue Magic he's got a spot on. The draft. The trade up was a miscalculation in the first place. You kind of traded up with no plan. It was my estimation at the time that none of the quarterbacks behind Trevor Lawrence was worth trading 2 first-round picks for. You typically reserve trading 2 first-round picks for a known commodity, not something that you don't know what you're getting yet. And probably the most known prospect that was probably the best prospect was Justin Fields at the time. He's played about 30 games, and we see him as a runner primarily right now. It's not even a thrower. So, and Mac Jones has had his noted struggles, and he's played a lot of games. So in hindsight, it would validate that there probably was nobody worth doing that process in the first place. Now, the whole argument of Trey is mishandled and Trey is mistreated, that's a fallacy as well. He got drafted his first year. He basically broke his finger, and he couldn't really throw the ball correctly the entire season. And even when he did get in there and he was going to try to lean on his running, he hurt his knee when Kyle was going to start him the very next week after the Arizona game to give him some more run. And then the second season, they named him starter and he got hurt again. So just happened to circumstances is more to blame for Trey's situation than it is the 49ers and Kyle. I mean, they invested the whole everything for him. They are totally invested in making this work. So why would it be a conspiracy to go against that, to go against them? So, and then like what you were saying as I'm wrapping up is that Darnold and Brock have obviously looked better in these games, at least the games anyway. I mean, I don't know about training camp because I wasn't there. I only can go off what people say, but everybody thinks Trey.
Brock, I don't know about like look better, whatever. I mean, he's out we're not even talking about him. I mean, I don't think like, okay, you throw a ball in the flat behind the line of scrimmage to Debo, and then you throw a screen to Debo, and then you throw a flat to
I'm talking about the low level plays, Croc. I'm not talking about.
But in the low level plays, yeah.
It's the low level. It's the throwing it right into defender's chest twice in the Raiders game. It's 4 snaps of getting sacked. 3 of the 4 plays he had somebody to throw the football to and just didn't pull the trigger and took a sack. There was just multiple really, really negative plays that kind of messed with Kyle.
I think that probably frustrates Kyle. But CJ, I appreciate you coming on, man. We're gonna get to the next call. All right, thanks, CJ. All right, shout out to CJ. Yeah. So overall, and I know that's what like when we talk about Trey Lance and Sam Darnold in the preseason games, and as CJ was alluding to, it really isn't so much about like, I mean, obviously it's what it looks like, but it's the lows from Trey Lance. I think that's where Kyle gets uneasy. because there's good things that Lance did. There's good things. There's high level plays. There's, he's making plays on the move. He's doing some good things. The second level throws, the layer throw. Like, he did some really good things. But the lows, I think, is what scared Kyle. I could be wrong, but that's just what I had assumed even prior to Sam being named the backup quarterback. But because of those things, I thought he would be named backup quarterback, and I was correct on that. Could it be possible that SD is the newest edition of the Cabo clique? Sam Darnold, of the Cabo clique. CMC was very vocal when Sam Darnold was signed. They were even hanging out together at Golden State game. Also, you got to remember Christian McCaffrey played with Sam Darnold. And maybe Christian McCaffrey has better insight on the situation over there in Carolina and was like, man, maybe it was just a crap show, and that's why it was like that. Maybe there's more to Sam Darnold. Again, I don't know how Buddy would kind of vouch for the other guy. But, there's a lot of games. We didn't see Sam play a lot of games, and there was a lot of bad in there. But as far, it's like, okay, I'm going to vouch for Sam. Like, he's a backup, so I wouldn't put too much stock into it. Next caller coming on. All right, 2 minutes on the clock. We got Willie Reynolds. Good morning, Reynolds. Oh,
Good morning.
Reynolds.
Good morning.
Willie. Yeah.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
All right. So the only thing I want to say is, Jed should grab his nuts and be a man and tell Kyle, hey, you're gonna have to make it work, because I allowed you to do exactly what you wanted to do, which was trade those picks to go up to number 3 and get the quarterback you said you wanted. That's that. I hear everybody talk about how Trey is this or he's that. Picture a scenario, Croc, where you have your driver's license, but you've never driven. How can you be a better driver if you've never driven? You're just a licensed driver. If that makes sense. And so that's really all I really want to say about it. And aside from the fact that everyone is putting their eggs in Brock's basket, at the end of the day, I love the 49ers and I love watching those games, but I hated watching Jimmy play because I knew what he was and I knew that he would never be anything other than that. Brock gives me the same feeling. He's not saying, having the biggest arm is the biggest or the best thing in the world, but at the end of the day, as people have said, when you need to, you only have a minute to go and you need to get a touchdown, can he do that? And without the way we run our offense, he cannot. And people really need to stop saying that Kyle's a genius, because he is not. If he was a genius, he would adapt to his players' strengths and weaknesses. I think you said it before, where John Lynch went on the radio and said, hey, they didn't do a good job with that with Trey. And I mentioned that in chats before, that, hey, if Kyle's such a genius, why is he trying to hit a square peg in a round hole? Trey was a square peg in the round hole. Adapt your offense to your player. And to me, it was his negligence with Trey, because, again, you were running him up the middle like a running back. But, man, I'm going to let you have it, and I appreciate your time.
All right, thanks for coming on, Willie. Good stuff there. We've had some good callers, some new callers. We got some new callers. All right, appreciate everybody that's in here right now. All 400 of y'all. Let's go. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. We are, I don't know, I wouldn't say venting, but just getting our thoughts out. And that's what this platform is for. Here we go. Next caller. We got Eric Dane. Eric with a K. Your 2 minutes has started. Oh, real quick, I'll actually pause your 2 minutes. Whose idea was it to put Eric with a K?
What do you mean?
Your name, Eric with a K.
That's what, you don't like it?
I think Eric with a C is a lot more aesthetically pleasing.
I don't know, man. Between C and K, only one of them actually makes the K sound. I don't know. Your name is more like Eris. I'm Eric, but it's all good, man. I don't care. It's all good.
All right. You got me. Okay. Now you're now, and I'm only give you 1 minute. No, I'm joking. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I got a K. I only get 1 minute. All right, I'll make it quick then. All right, real quick.
Yours.
So as far as the guy who said that Trey Lance wasn't mismanaged, I totally disagree. Every other quarterback taken in that draft was made the starting quarterback their first year. You look at this previous draft, 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round: Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson. All three of them have already been named their team's starting quarterback. What the 49ers have done is unquestionably different than the way that every other team does it. I don't know how anyone can say that's not mismanaging. Every other team, if you take a quarterback in the first round, you clear the road for them, you make them a starting quarterback, you give them 2 years to develop. Josh Allen, first season, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. You don't move off a first-round quarterback after 4 games. You don't move off him after 1 season because they could develop into somebody like Josh Allen. So you got to give him at least 2 years. It was an absolute mistake not to give Trey Lance a chance to start his first year. He got injured the second year. That's not their fault, but they made a mistake not playing him the first year. But what I really called in to talk about was everyone keeps saying, as far as Sam Darnold being named quarterback 2, oh, we got to trust the coaching staff. We got to trust the front office. They know what they're doing. What evidence do we have they know what they're doing? Brock Purdy? Oh, yeah. They had so much faith in Brock Purdy, they waited until the final pick in the draft to take him. And then last year, he was 3rd on the depth chart. That was their quarterback evaluation based off preseason and practice of Brock Purdy, was that he was behind not only Trey Lance, but also Jimmy Garoppolo on the depth chart. So this idea that, they can judge Trey Lance based off practice and preseason, really? Because they thought Brock Purdy was 3rd on the depth chart last year. Now, what other evidence do we have they can evaluate the quarterback position? What other quarterbacks have they gone after? They traded all this stuff for Trey Lance. I don't think anyone can say that's worked out. He's now 3rd on the depth chart. That was a mistake. The year after they went to the Super Bowl, Tom Brady wanted to come back to the 49ers. Tom Brady grew up a 49ers fan. He wanted to end his career in San Francisco. They said, no, we're good with Jimmy Garoppolo. Then 2 years later, they said, oh, no, we're not good with Jimmy Garoppolo. We got to trade 3 first-round picks to replace him. You go back even further. The first year they were here, they had the number 2 overall pick in the draft. They didn't even scout Patrick Mahomes. They ended up trading back from number 2 to number 3. The Bears took Mitchell Trubisky. Patrick Mahomes still available at number 3. They hadn't even scouted him. And people might forget, that was before they did not have Jimmy Garoppolo. That was before they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. At that point, their starting quarterback was Brock Heward, and they didn't even scout Patrick Mahomes. So this idea of, they've done a great job at every other position, scouting linebackers, scouting wide receivers, so on and so forth. They've done a great job. They have a blind spot at the quarterback position. All the evidence stacks up with that. All the evidence aligns with that. There's no evidence that they can, we got to trust them. They know what they're doing at quarterback. No, they don't. Every time that they've had to make a decision, they've made the wrong decision. They passed on Tom Brady. They didn't even scout Patrick Mahomes. They trade up for Trey Lance and then didn't even play him. And Brock Purdy, if they knew what they had in Brock Purdy, he would have at least been quarterback 2 last year. He wouldn't have been quarterback 3. They wouldn't have waited. If they thought that Brock Purdy was going to play like this, do you wait until the final pick in the draft? They could have taken Brock Purdy in the 4th round, the 5th round, if they thought he was that good. So I just don't understand. Everyone keeps saying, oh, we got to trust the front office. We got to trust the coaching staff that they know what they're doing. Not a quarterback. Show me the evidence that they know what they're doing at quarterback, because I just don't see it.
I had to even cut the 2 minutes off. I said, I'm gonna let Eric with a K cook. I ain't even gonna put the 2 minutes on there. I was just gonna let you go, man. That was good stuff. You got anything else to say? Because you can get that off too.
No, I don't want to take up either. You got other callers, man. I don't want to take up too much time. That's all I want to say.
No, you're the last caller, so you're good.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just I keep hearing people say that we got to trust the coaching staff in the front office. If we're talking about linebackers, yeah, I trust them. If we're talking about safety, sure, I trust them. If we're talking about wide receivers, running backs, every other position, I trust them. But for some reason, quarterback, I don't know what it is. Kyle, just, I don't know. I think that when they were going to trade for Deshaun Watson and the stuff came out, it fell through. At that point, they pivoted to going for a rookie. And that was the difference between having a veteran quarterback that can help a team that's ready to win now, and a rookie quarterback needs time to develop. But once you make that decision, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's too late. Once you draft a developmental quarterback, you need to give them a chance to develop. You can't draft a developmental quarterback and say, well, he's not ready yet. Everybody knew that. Look at the Indianapolis Colts. Are the Indianapolis Colts saying, oh, man, Anthony Richardson, he's got a lot of potential. He's got this great skill set, but he's not ready yet. We're just going to put him on the bench and hope he gets ready watching other quarterbacks play. No, like the guy who mentioned the driving thing earlier with the driving analogy. You need to drive in order to become a better driver. There's only so much you can learn from defensive driving school, taking your driving test. At some point, you need to get behind the wheel. because you need to be able to adapt to your scenario. It's not just about what you do as a driver. It's about what do you do when some idiot cuts you off or some moron stops short in front of you or the person next to you is playing with their cell phone. They start drifting over in your lane. You got to be able to adapt. And the only way that you can develop that ability is by having that experience. That's why quarterbacks get better. They start playing, defenses start figuring out, they throw different stuff at them. Then the quarterbacks adapt to that. But you have to go through that process. You got to be willing to go through the lumps, and you got to be willing to take your lumps and go through the process. And that doesn't mean that they're going to develop into Josh Allen. I'm not saying that Trey Lance was guaranteed to become a franchise quarterback. What I am saying is if you don't give him a chance to play, then he's guaranteed to become a bust. You got to at least let him play and figure out if he can learn defenses and maximize that skill set that everybody saw. It's not just the 49ers. If the 49ers didn't take Trey Lance at number 3, do you think he would have made it out of the top 10 of that draft? If they stayed at 12, do you think another team would have traded up to the top 10 to draft Trey Lance?
So you can't find a mock from any of the big media guys that had Trey Lance sliding outside of the top 10. So that's the wild part. People think, oh, he would have been there at 12. He would have been there at 12. Maybe, but nobody had him going past 12. That's kind of like Solomon Thomas, right? Like 49ers drafted Solomon Thomas number 3 overall. And a lot of people think like, oh man, that's a reason like he wouldn't have. And it's like, well, there's not one mock that had him going outside of the top 10. So would Trey have been there? I don't know. But I don't know. I know one thing.
No, but my point
feeling was that he wasn't going to be there at 12.
My point is that it's not like the 49ers found some guy that only they thought was good. Even if the 49ers, someone else in the league would have looked at Trey Lance and been like, oh, man, he's got the size, he's got the arm strength. He only threw 1 interception in 17 games in college. I mean, if Trey Lance were able to maximize his ability, he would have been like a 6'4" mobile game manager, which is kind of like an excellent quarterback if you think about it, because he doesn't put the ball at risk. He doesn't really turn the ball over. He's got the arm strength to make throws that other quarterbacks can't make. He's got enough mobility to be able to escape the rush. There was potential there, and now we're never going to – well, we will know because he's going to get another chance. I mean, if Sam Darnold gets 3 chances, someone else is going to give Trey Lance a chance, and they're going to actually let him develop, and we're going to see. And if this doesn't work out, this is the first time that I actually think, I know you said that the Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a leash. I disagree a little bit. I think that now this is the starting of the leash. It might be a very long leash, but I think now the leash is there because Brock Purdy, he played well. If he regresses or turns out he's got injury problems, and then they got to turn to Sam Darnold, who has 90 turnovers and 55 career starts. If Trey Lance moves on to another team like Atlanta, imagine Trey Lance on Atlanta with Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Imagine Trey Lance on, I can think of a half dozen teams off the top of my head. What if Trey Lance goes to the Seahawks? He's played in the division. He knows the division opponents. Geno Smith is getting older. They have DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Tyler Lockett wide receiver. They have Kenneth Walker's decent running back. What if Trey Lance goes to Seattle and plays well, and Brock Purdy, I mean, we saw it last year. I don't mean any disrespect, Brock Purdy. He played great. But there were a lot of throws that didn't really have that zip on it. And if defenders were jumping those routes, those could have been turnovers. Some of his best plays that he made, the receivers had to come back to the ball. And those could easily become turnovers. So I'm not saying it was all luck, but I'm saying he might have had, like, all of the good luck last year. And if it starts to come back to the norm and he plays more like a middle-of-the-road quarterback, that's not, and you know, this idea that, oh, they just want to get cheaper at the position and they have this win now window. The reason you go after a franchise quarterback is that extends your window. They have a win now window because of older guys like Trent Williams, George Kittle, etc. They're not going to be here forever. The idea of getting a franchise quarterback is that extends your window. Look at the Bengals with Joe Burrow. They might lose T. Higgins. They just lost both their safeties. Does anyone actually think the Bengals window is closing? No. As long as they have Joe Burrow, they got a window. As long as the Bills got Josh Allen, they got a window. That was the idea behind getting Trey Lance, was to extend the window. Now, I hope it works out. Brock Purdy, I got faith in him. I think he played well last year, but he's not as big as some of these other guys, Trey Lance, Josh Allen, and that can make a difference when you're taking a lot of pounding. You're getting, especially with the way the 49ers run their offense, the quarterback turns their back to the defense a lot. You're going to get hit, and if you can't sustain that kind of punishment, we're moving on to Sam Darnold, who sees ghosts on the field. So I think at the very least, my thing is this. If you want to say that Brock Purdy's a better quarterback, he should be quarterback 1. Okay, he proved it on the field last year. But Sam Darnold being quarterback too, I mean, what has he shown that has better than the potential of Trey Lance? Like I said, 90 turnovers in 55 games. The guy said he was seeing ghosts on the field. All I've heard from all the people at practice, all training camp, is that Sam Darnold, all he's been doing is just checking it down. He's checking it down, checking it down. He's keeping his stats looking good. That might win you the quarterback 2 job. Checkdowns are not going to win you a Super Bowl. We keep getting to this point. It seems like they're determined to try this experiment. Can we win a Super Bowl without a franchise quarterback? And so far, the answer is no. They can get far with the defense. They can get far with the skill position players on offense. But they keep running up against teams that do have franchise quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, even Matthew Stafford. I'll put him at the lower end of that category. But Matthew Stafford got an arm. He's the franchise quarterback. He won a Super Bowl. So, can they win a Super Bowl without a franchise quarterback? So far, it hasn't worked. They keep running up against teams that do have franchise quarterbacks. And that's what a lot of us were hoping was going to happen with Trey Lance. And I kind of feel like he didn't even really get a chance. I mean, maybe the second year, but he got injured in the second game, so he wasn't able to make the most of that opportunity. And other than that, in the 3 years that Trey Lance has been in the league, 2 out of those 3 years, he hasn't even had a chance to compete for quarterback 1. Not only did they not make him the quarterback 1, they didn't even let him compete for it. So his tenure is basically done. I don't see how they could end up, salvaging Trey Lance out of this. He's going to move somewhere else. And we got to hope that Brock Purdy is the guy. And, I hope he is because, on 8-game sample size look great. But, this is the NFL. You take a lot of hits. Anything could happen. You can start coming back to the mean a little bit. You start getting a little bit bad luck. Who knows what could happen.
All right. And really quick, one more question. You can answer this quick. But someone had a great question in the chat outside the echo chamber. Says, so what's the solution? Like, what do you think the solution is to whatever's going on right now?
Man. I mean, well, right now, because the solution would have been going back 2 years, not keeping Jimmy Garoppolo, making Trey Lance the start of the rookie year.
Yeah.
Or the second solution would have been this year. I think there should have been a quarterback competition between Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. Now, if Brock wins that quarterback competition, fine. I think that would have settled a lot of the debate with the fans because they would have been like, listen, man, they settled it on the field. We got to see Trey Lance run with the ones in the preseason, didn't look as good as Brock Purdy. But you can't go back in time. So right now, I don't know. I would say my solution would be to make Trey quarterback 2 and then let him develop as much as he can at quarterback 2 and then go into next year. They're going to have to decide on Trey Lance's 5th-year option. Me personally, if I was running the team, I would pick that up. I would pick up his 5th-year option. I would make him quarterback 2 this year. If Brock gets injured or he plays poorly, then Trey goes in. We get to see what Trey can do. If Brock plays great, that's fine. You go into next year, you picked up the 5th-year option, so then you give Trey Lance and Brock Purdy a chance to compete for the starting job. If Trey Lance can't earn it, then after the 5th year, then you just let the contract expire, move on with Brock Purdy. If at any point, if Brock Purdy goes down and Trey Lance comes in this year and plays great, or if he wins the quarterback competition next year, then that Trey is the guy, and then you can give him a real contract.
All right, great stuff, Eric. We have a super chat here, and Jimmy Kwan says, Croc, you and Eric with a K should host a podcast. Eric is a sharp guy, and he has the podcast voice. And I agree. So listen, during the season, I got to get you on for like 10 minutes. I don't know if we're going to do it Monday.
I just want to point out when he did, and it's good that our names are spelled differently, because when he wrote Eric is a sharp guy and has a podcast voice, it was Eric with a K. I just want to point that out in case you didn't know this. So they can be clear. They can be clear about which Eric they're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, you got to come on more often.
I appreciate it, Croc. Thank you.
All right. That was good stuff there. Good stuff from Eric with a K. All right, got another super chat here. Funny how Trey can't get a chance, but after 5 years, Kyle had a below 500 record and gets chances. Weakest part of this team, the offense, but he's a genius. The interesting thing there, and I have said it, and it's kind of just, I guess, interesting to me, but Kyle I actually call him the 49ers defensive coordinator. I think he plays to the 49ers defense. I think he says, well, that's the strength of this team, so I'm going to play to that. The way he kind of calls games a little conservative, the way he kind of goes about things. And it's interesting because you would think that with him calling games the way he does and with the defense as good as it is, like you wouldn't think he has Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk. Like you wouldn't even think he has all these guys offensively, but he does. So he does definitely plays more to the defense. I thought that was interesting when you have all these weapons, and he is considered the genius. But the offense, I mean, when have they been? And maybe they have. I think maybe 2019, really like a top 5 unit for sure. But I don't want to misspeak on where the unit is ranked as far as points are scored and whatnot. But it seems like you would probably be more aggressive while having the defense you have and the weapons you have. And maybe it's just, hey, I need that quarterback. And maybe Brock Purdy's that quarterback. Maybe it's Brock. All right. So I think we can only hope. And yeah, hopefully that's the case. And hopefully y'all tune in tomorrow. We'll be here live, same time, same place, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. You can find this show on Spotify, Apple. The link is in the description below. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. Download the app or go to Underdog Fantasy right now and use that promo code. They'll double your deposit up to $100. You know what? Hold on. Cut the music. We got Alexis. Alexis says, welcome back to the 209 Croc. So I'll talk about it real quick. So those of you who, got a few more minutes to spare, go ahead, feel free to hang around. One thing I do try to pride myself on this platform or anything else in life or anybody I'm talking to is being very transparent. All right. Maybe somebody can learn from my mistakes and whatnot or whatever. All right. So if you got a few minutes to spare, you can listen to why I'm back in Stockton, why I sold everything out in Arkansas and everything like that. So this is not Eric Crocker podcast Crocky or 49ers podcast Crocky. This is Eric Crocker life, talking about life, art, and different things. For those of you who know, like during the pandemic, I moved to Arkansas. A big part of the reason why is because, financially, it was extremely difficult to be able to support myself and my wife as she's going through nursing school, or is about to go through nursing school in Stockton. Extremely difficult. Also, the nursing school out here at Delta College or at Modesto Junior College is really tough to get into because they go off of kind of like this point lottery system, or at least they did it back then in like 2019, 2020. So I knew she was coming up on this stuff and I had to figure something out. All right. So I'm like, okay, how can I kill 2 birds with 1 stone? I want to get my degree. I want to graduate from college. I want my wife to be able to get through this stuff and it not be like this huge financial burden on us. So let's move, or I made the phone call to my university out in Arkansas, and the coach said, man, you come here, you could be student assistant, you get your degree, and then we got the top nursing program in the area. Your wife can, come to the school. Everything's good. They'll plug her right in. It's good, right? And they do got the top nursing program. They make great nurses. My wife is an amazing nurse. She was an LVN leading up into going out there. All right. So it's only a 1-year program she had to be in. I was 1 year away from having my degree. So we say, we're going to go to Arkansas. We're going to do those things. Well, we get out there and the coach kind of pivots off of what he told me, what was in store for me, which was being a student assistant, being able to, work with the defensive backs and coach and all that type of stuff. But I said, you know what, regardless of whatever my situation is, I need to make sure that my wife can get her degree from this school and finish the nursing program here and become an RN. So we stayed out there. We thugged it out. In the midst of that, I was training athletes and I saw a market for potentially being able to like really grow as a trainer, which I did a lot of that in California. I know the ins and outs of it. All right. So we start kind of working on that. I'm training athletes. It's going well. My wife is in school. I'm supporting that. I'm paying for her schooling. Everything's going great. Well, then the thoughts of building a gym came up. So now it's like building a gym from the ground up. All right. And now I'm like, okay, that's a different commitment. Originally, we were only supposed to be going for a year. I have 2 kids in California who I had to fly back and forth all the time, down there every other week to see them. And I'm like, well, it wasn't in the plans to make it permanent, but maybe this is just what's in store for me. And hey, man, just continue making money and I could do it. So the podcast stuff started taking off. The gym stuff was going well. But eventually it got difficult to live. I don't want to say a double life, but it got difficult to do both things. Like I'm getting pulled in too many different directions. I'm podcasting. That's going well. That's my moneymaker. I got the gym going. I'm trying to build that, but also damn near every weekend or every other weekend, I'm flying to California to watch my son run track, my daughter have a dance rehearsal, while all also being a husband and, a dad to my kids in Arkansas. So it really ultimately kind of got tough trying to balance everything. And I had to figure something else out. And the thing that we figured out was, all right, I told my wife, you move back to Stockton full time. And I'll just go back and forth every week. I'll fly back and forth every week. Well, that wasn't going to be sustainable. Things weren't aligning right. My wife needed my help. And I said, you know what? You need my help because I'm supposed to be there. So I made the decision to sell everything and move back to Stockton. So I'm back in Stockton. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Get to see my homies. I see my guy Abel in the chat right now. He's kind of gang banging on y'all. 2400. That's where we from. 2400 block. But I'm back home. So the biggest thing I learned from that was, one, it was an amazing job with all the opportunities I had, but the gym part about it, and I kind of correlated that to the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan and their handling of Trey Lance. If you aren't 100% all in on something that really has to be built from the ground up, and you got to do all the footwork and you got to build this thing up or whatever, if you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it will not work. And that was the case with the 49ers and Trey Lance, and that was the case with me and my gym. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Traveling, podcasting, never all in with the gym like I should have been. So that was definitely something that I learned, and hopefully y'all learned something from that as well. You go all in on something, it could boom. And when I was all in on my podcasting, booming, right? I'm all in right now, booming. That stuff is great. But the gym is what really ultimately took a hit, and it just wasn't going to work. And financially, it was eating my pockets. All right, here we go. We could be a little transparent here. All right, so this is the real. Before the gym was built, I was able to go all in on podcasting, and I was making $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 a month of podcasting. So I'm doing very well. Well, once the gym was built, I wasn't able to sustain all the things I was doing with all the podcasts. So I kind of had to cut in half a lot of the things I was doing, damn near, right? So now my income goes from, I'm bringing in $16,000, $17,000 a month to around $8,000 a month or whatever from my streaming stuff. Well, that's all fine, but when you have a large overhead with the gym, and let's say the gym doesn't break even, now I need $3,500 to come out of my pocket. Well, what about all the other things, right, that I'm paying for, whether it's my car, my wife's car, the house, whatever. So now I was like, damn, for somebody that was making $16,000, $17,000 a month podcasting, the gym is kind of making me go towards living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. That's not the life that I want to live. So ultimately, we made the move back to Stockton. My wife is doing great, got an amazing job nursing. She's doing good. I call her my sugar mama now. All right, so my wife is my sugar mama. But I get to focus on my podcast and stuff again, and rap with y'all. So everything's good. Life is good. I'm chilling. I work out in the morning. I hit my workout. I come on here with y'all. I'll cut up some of these segments. I chill, pick my daughter up from school. Then I take her to go shoot around some basketball stuff, work on our handles and everything. Pick up my other daughter, all right, man, I'm living life now, man. It's amazing. Bit off more than you can chew scenario. Definitely bit off more than I can chew. Now, I had too many things going on. Now, in the process of building the gym, remember, I wasn't like podcasting like I am now or doing all these things. I wasn't on Locked On 49ers yet. I didn't have this YouTube channel like that yet. I didn't have the Patreon account. I didn't have all those things. So when I first decided, okay, we're going to build this gym from the ground up, that was without the knowledge of, hey, your podcast stuff is going to start booming. So my podcast stuff started booming in the process of the gym being built. And ultimately it was like, damn, now I got to do both. You feel me? And that was tough. Juggling too many balls, Croc. 100%. Juggling too many balls, bro. Pause. Croc living the life in the 209, enjoying the hot days. Where we live, it's like, I don't know if it's shaded or what, but we got a nice little cross breeze and everything. I don't even be having to turn on the AC. It's kind of crazy. But anyways, appreciate everybody for tuning in. I think I should start the music now. Love and appreciate everybody. Make sure you
like and subscribe this video.
Yeah. A lot of fun stuff talking about the 49ers. Hopefully we can put behind us all this backup quarterback talk. Again, you guys can listen to all these on Spotify, Apple, all that. It'll be up probably 10 minutes after I end this show. But I'll see y'all tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Preseason game preview. I'm out. Peace.